I'm doing scenarios as we talk, and I can find other ways to come very close and lower the commercial industrial, but we have to raise ag. I'm trying not to raise it above 9.5. But, you know, there are other ways. And although you're talking about bringing up commercial and industrial, think of the impact of $1 per $1,000 of value increase in residential, because that's basically what we just put in. And that's going to affect a lot of people. People here in this room who don't qualify for the homeowners class for whatever reason. And that's a big impact on people. I feel like we're at the point where we're just spinning our wheel and turning in circles. And I'd like to see us kind of get back to focusing on a solution here and moving on, because we do have other measures to take up before this meeting is over.
I don't think we're really spinning wheels, because really what this does is it's just us demonstrating that we have differing philosophies about, you know, what's valuable to us or what we think is valuable. And it's kind of interesting, actually. I mean, for my proposal or whatever I told Deanna to plug in there, obviously it's on the backs of the, what is this called? The residential properties, right? But bear in mind, I know you said that you didn't want it to go over 950 for the ag. The numbers we punched in were 945, actually, 5 cents less. Yeah, the residential people are going to be angry. But I think this is really a healthy exercise, quite frankly. Yeah.
It's healthy.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, we could be here
Yeah.
all night doing this healthy exercise. I don't know how healthy that is.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. But at the same time, you know, we don't want to just rush things through without really thinking about what all the options are out there, right?
I just wanted to go back to one of the scenarios that we had brought up. I had adjusted some numbers from Mr. Kanuhas, and then Ms. O'Hara took some numbers from there, and then Ms. Leloy adjusted it from there. And I think we came up with a good option.
Okay, so that is the latest one that we did on the council compromise. We're looking at that now. Is any suggestions, questions? Or do we want to go with this one?
It was until I took a good hard look at the numbers and realized how much commercial and industrial was going up. And, you know, Aaron put the right lens on it. It's not somewhere between 25 cents. It's somewhere between
80.
80 or 90 cents.
80 cents.
And I don't see any other category going up
Oh,
like
90.
that. Like
90
that.
cents.
I mean, other than residential. So, yeah. And I don't mind taking commercial and industrial back down. And I really am not afraid if we have to go look for monies and cut some areas of our expenditures. I am fine with that. I just want to hold, you know, the numbers on our real property tax rates so that people can go about their lives with, you know, paying their real property tax or running their businesses and figure out ways to cut some expenditures. And, you know, Mr. Richards found, I think it was $450,000 that closes the gap on this one, you know, 115 amount, or if we reduce the commercial industrial, I think we can close the gap. I know it's late, but I am ready to do the hard work. This is where the rubber meets the road. I feel like a cheerleader, like, come on, guys, you know, ikumamau. Like, we gotta get there, but we cannot be afraid to cut expenditures either. That's all I'm saying. You know, there's two parts to this equation, the revenue and the expenditure.
If we do bring the commercial and the industrial back down to, I thought it was 1070. Okay, we're looking for $772,000. And we had discussed a couple positions that helped with about 174,000, I think it was, or 164,000. if we go along with this, if we can agree to this scenario, we need to look for about another $600,000
Right.
to
And-
reduce in the budget.
And if you look at it, can you put that back up, that scenario? Because I know that Councilmember Chung had suggested homeowners be at 620 when the mayor is suggesting 655. So still, that's a nice chunk off of that.
Chart.
Okay.
Because I think we were all pretty much on board with all those numbers, except for the industrial commercial, which has become,
Right. We're now at looking for $772,000.
well, we discussed 164 in a position or two that we would be willing to not fund at this time. So I think we need to find about 600,000.
The answer is, it comes back to the bus. The original budget was for about $500,000, and it's my understanding this is a matching fund deal from the feds that we get a bus. And if we get value of two or $1 million, we can get 2 buses. And I get that, and I do understand that. That being said, if we go back in the original budget from the first version, whichever month that was, had 1 bus, and we go back and look historically, that's always been the case. So I think by still giving 1 bus, but as Councilwoman Leloy said, we're going to have to make a cut here if we're going to support holding the budget lines where we want them and the tax rates where we want them. And so not taking it all away, but just putting it back to where it was is my sensing. I also had mentioned contingency funds, and I'm open for discussion on that one as well. What I had proposed was $225,000 out of contingency and $450,000, so that gets us there. But I also understand the pushback from my fellow council members. But I think if we at least look at the bus, that leaves 1 new bus coming in, and it may not make economic sense to fix some of these things, but I'd rather put efforts towards that way and get rid of what we don't need.
So if we take out 450,000, and you guys can check if I heard that right, for the bus, and take out 225,000 from council contingency, that would put us ahead 34,000. And financing a bus is definitely possible. That's how we've been leasing a lot of our larger equipment. And again, this is lease to own, not, leasing a bus. And it is a financing mechanism, and usually it's about 1/5 of the total cost.
If we don't approve of the proposed fuel tax rate, and we say propose a lower rate, or so we may have to go to another public hearing, but is that where we could find financing too for another bus?
Yes, we could.
On a $500,000 home, what
Yes.
would, because I could calculate this myself, but I'm just too tired already. A 5-cent increase
not.
represent?
Assuming you mean the net assessed value after exemptions.
No, just 500.
Well, 500 is what's left.
Okay,
at
net
5
assessed, because
cents.
500, that's a lot of money. Okay,
Yeah.
so you take away the 100,000, now
So
400,000.
5 cents would be $25.
$25, right? And I know this, reverting the homeowners class back to its original amount was predicated on, us not going through with not the minimum tax, but the age exemptions. And I'm not trying to be mean to guys 75 and older, okay? But 20, not 25, 20, yeah, for 400,000.
Oh, 400, sorry, I was still with 500, yeah, so 400 would be 20.
So $20 for a 75-year-old guy who has a $500,000 home. Those age
400,000.
exemptions weren't intended for that. It was for the plantation people. Yeah. But, and I'm not saying that $20 is, chump change, but I just wanted to point that out. But I still think we should try to cut the budget as much as possible without, having to raise the rates. But I think if we had to, 5 cents more is much better than 40 cents more. Yeah, when you look at things in comparison to what were proposed, I think it would be deemed palatable by, most of the public, even the 75 and over crowd. Yeah, thanks.
I understand the need to protect commercial and industrial classes. These are not our big tax classes, as you can see from the total taxes. They're not big contributing classes. What is the biggest contributing class is residential. And we, in this latest scenario that I think is on the board, have raised the rate over $1. That's a big impact. And I don't think that's reasonable. When we drop the increase on the commercial and industrial to only 65 cents over what's existing, and then raise the residential class by $1.05, I don't see that as fair. So I actually liked the previous scenario. I thought we came pretty darn close where we had the 115 to shortage that we had to come up with. But the more we start tweaking this one, I realize you guys are happy to cut expenses, but personally, I think we've cut. And I really don't know, other than cutting positions, where we're going to start cutting. And some of the positions we've already found are already filled, or they're very essential to the county moving forward on particular projects. So I'm not going to be supporting major cuts in expenses. I do understand what Mr. Richards is saying about the complication of, we put the fuel tax after this, and perhaps it should be put before, because it does complicate things in terms of how we take things from this budget or add things to this budget. So that's kind of what is complicating things at this point in time. But right now, I am not for advancing a lot of cuts, because I don't really see where the cuts are. As Mr. Chung said earlier, he went to the 3 main areas in the budget where there's usually some slack, and it's really not there anymore. We have been cutting and cutting. I know if you want to look at numbers and talk about the proportion of the growth of the budget, yes, it has grown, but so have other things in our economy, and that's why it happens over time. Budgets are going to grow. So I'm not for it. I'm not for sitting here and slicing and dicing. I think it's ill-advised at this point in the day to start in doing that. But if that's what you guys want to sit here and do, I'll stay here. But I probably will not be supporting. Thank you.
So from the mayor's proposal of 6.55 to 6.20, I don't know if that would help or no. Okay, put it back to the 615, and we gotta choose a scenario. And at one point, let's select the top 2 scenarios, and let's kind of take a poll on which scenario we're going to move ahead with, because we're not going to all agree on one scenario. It doesn't look like that we will. Councilmember Chung.
If Deanna, can you just tell me what my scenario was again? I can't recall what it was already. I think it was 11. 1110 for
1110 for
residential.
residential, 615 for affordable rental, 1170 for apartment, 1155 for hotel and resort, 1070 for commercial, 1070 for industrial, 945 for agriculture, 1155 for conservation, and 620 for homeowners.
And what did that come out again?
Positive or excess of 183,000.
What was apartment again? I'm sorry.
Apartment was $11.70.
70 cents.
Yes.
And resort was,
1155.
oh, 1155. Okay, okay. What if you drop ag down to 940?
We would be short 94,000.
Oh, we could do with that. That's the IT position. Is that the whole? Oh, if you put this homeowners at 615. is that okay, Council Member Chung?
Also, it's going back down to 615.
If we, no, if they're saying
They
to
just wanna
see what it looks like. They wanted to see
Oh,
what it
yeah,
looks
yeah,
like
yeah,
with
yeah, that's fine.
615. Because I think you can get more people on the bandwagon to
Right, right, right.
help
Whatever
support
it takes.
this one if we come down to 615. So we're looking at 429, 159. Councilmember Chung, you still have the floor.
No, I
Okay,
mean-
Councilmember Richards?
I still support cutting the bus, and concerning Councilwoman Ruggles' concern, we're not eliminating the bus, we just change how we're going to finance it. And so it's not, we can finance it, so we can still get the same number of buses, we just pay a little bit of interest. But again, it comes down to the cash flow management, which is, that's what you do in business, you manage your cash flow. So that way, we can save 450 out of the budget. And then our liability, Deanna, what would that be over a year for a payment?
I mean, it would be roughly 100,000 per year, but we start paying when we receive the bus, and a lot of those big ticket items, it takes several months to a year to actually build and deliver it to us. So there would be little impact on this coming fiscal year's budget.
So I still support, and, getting back, we could still, if we drop ag back to 925 or even 935, could we do it?
925 would put us
1.2.
1.2 million short.
Oh, 1 million.
1.265.
35 would put us 700,000 short.
So 700,000, and we hadn't taken the bus out of it yet, is that correct?
Yeah, this is just total revenue compared to
Okay.
what's in the proposed budget, without any changes.
Any changes also concerning the position eliminations, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Okay.
so I
Okay.
think we're real close.
So this one is, this is the last one we did, the compromise?
And
This is
can
the
I just point out something about this one?
Okay, Councilmember O'Hara?
We've placed the tax for residential at 40 cents greater than the mayor's proposal. Okay? Just pointing it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're kind of like at a standstill. So can you look at which top two scenarios would we want to select to try and work on and take a recess so that they can get us the paperwork so we can motion it in? And okay, Councilmember Richards.
The one we've just been talking about, the
Okay.
council compromise, I think that's one I'm going to support, because I think that's as close as we've come to anything so far.
Apartment at 1175, hotel and resort at 1175, commercial at 1095, industrial at 1095, agriculture at 925, conservation at 1155, and homeowners at 615.
Okay, can we take a 10-minute recess and we run this off, do away with all this other stuff you have, because once you start looking at it, you're gonna wanna go, oh,
Okay,
but look.
Can you
so-
just call them A and B or something?
Yeah,
Yes, we
so
will.
I am ripping
but,
this one up.
Okay, so we have that council compromise, and then we have the revised council compromise that Councilmember
Okay.
Chung initiated, which will be B.
Okay.
But those are the two you want run off. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay.
And then we'll work on. Okay,
Real quick,
Councilmember Kanuha.
Deanna,
Yes. You want another one?
with these proposed rates that we're gonna be talking about, I mean, some more, the two top or whatever it is, I really need to know how it's gonna affect my district. And right now, I have no idea. Yeah, if somebody can tell me the
Okay.
two proposals, how it's gonna
How it's
affect
gonna affect
some-
each district.
yeah.
Okay, so
Thank
we're
you.
10-minute recess. Calling this meeting. Okay, calling this meeting back to order. Okay, before us, we have A and B. Okay? So I don't know if we all had a chance to look at this and digest it and maybe we'll start at the very end, and Councilmember Chung, maybe we'll come down this way and we'll start, if you can tell us which would be your preference. I think B is the one that you said you would have supported, but can you? You're going to go with B. Okay, Councilmember Chung. Okay, Councilmember Ruggles, have you looked at both?
Yeah, I would go with A.
A.
Are we giving explanations or just?
I think for now, let's look at who's going with what. Councilmember Kanuha, what are you leaning towards? C.
Neither.
Don't say C. B is up. B is up there, but we have A and B in front of us. Okay. So, Councilmember Kanuha, where were you leaning? Out the door. Okay, so you're gonna pass?
Like I said, neither.
Oh, okay. Well, we know where he's going. Okay, yeah, so if he says neither, he's going with Mayor Harry Kim?
No.
Okay,
I had a proposal.
okay. Okay, so Councilmember David, where are you leaning?
Yeah, for discussion purposes, I think, I looked at both of them. I think B is the one that I would be interested in.
Okay. Councilmember Eoff?
I'm willing to look at cutting into the budget so that we can lower most of these rates to a reasonable amount, so I'll go with B.
B. Okay, Councilmember Richards?
B.
B. Okay. Councilmember O'Hara?
I'm going to do the same as Mr. Kanuha.
Okay. Councilmember Leloy?
B.
B. Okay. And I would support B as well. So if we look at who's supporting the most support, of course it's B. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 supporting B. What was that? Yeah.
No, sorry.
Okay, Councilmember Kanuha.
No, just based off of the two proposals in front of me, I mean, I think the better working model would be B.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So with that said, we're looking at B. I mean, that's what we're looking at because everybody is working towards this. Now, do we say that this is what we want to take a break and finance, and Donna goes back in to do the necessary paperwork and documentation to get this before the council?
Just have a question before we do that. Do we need to address the 707 before we take that into, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
The deficit?
Yeah, Deanna, you had that other spreadsheet that showed how we were going to deal with the 707,884, what we're going to decrease. Is there any way to get that a little larger, or Councilmember David, you still have the floor.
Yes, could you give us the amounts? I'm sorry, for the contingency, what's the amount for that and the bus?
Reducing it by 225,000.
Okay.
Reducing the bus by 450,000.
Mhm.
And then Corporation Council's clerk was 20,000, and the IT deputy was
94,
94,000.
right? Okay. And that leaves us with, is that,
Sorry, that leaves us with $97,044 over or extra
Extra,
to spend.
okay.
90 what?
97,000.
044
Oh,
extra. Okay,
yeah.
great, thank you.
that's the prosecutor's, part of the prosecutor's position. Councilmember Eoff.
Thank you. I think I know why Ms. O'Hara is having a problem supporting either one. I think it's the residential amount. But I was wondering, what do you propose, or have you anything else to consider at this point?
I proposed something initially, and that was what I was referencing, my initial proposal. It was not at that extreme for the residential.
I threw it away.
No.
Oh, no. Okay, thank you.
The
Okay.
number was at $10.90 instead of 11.10. But the numbers are different in my proposal than any of these other proposals, so you'd have to go back and look at it. Oh, what number is it? It was,
Yeah, I thought there was one that we were making adjustments on that had your,
no,
Oh.
I'm not talking about, I'm
Oh,
talking
okay.
about my
Original.
initial.
oh, your initial.
Proposal
Okay.
that
Okay.
I spent much time on and submitted on time 2 weeks ago. That proposal.
But in that proposal, a lot of this is close. A lot of it is very close to your proposal.
A lot of it is, but
The-
close it doesn't count with these
Yeah.
kinds of things. I'm sorry. I mean, you
But
move a
what
nickel
about
and you're
this
talking
issue,
millions of dollars.
the issue with the homeowner's rate that we did discuss earlier about leaving it alone and not
Yeah,
giving the
I
age
know,
exemption?
and we've
so that-
since made decisions based on kind of a consensus moving forward. What I don't, I think we've reduced the commercial and industrial in these proposals, and the one that the council seems to be favoring, which is B, to a point where it's forced us to raise the residential. I'm not really sure how we ended up here, but if, yeah, 1070, which was the mayor's proposal for industrial and commercial. And once we did that, there was no hope of bringing the residential down. And I just think that's a real kick in the butt for residential class, because that's over $1.05 increase per $1,000 of value. That's pretty significant.
Have you done the calculation if there was some kind of a coming closer, taking some from the
I've
high one
done
come-
thousands of calculations at this
well,
point.
at
but
this
I
point,
don't know.
because we're kind of at a,
I'm just telling you, I don't really support the direction of B. I don't really support sitting here and digging through $707,884 that we need to cut. I know that you found ways to do it, but I'm not a big fan of cutting the bus. I know that's a big chunk that takes care of things, but I'm not a big fan
I
of
think
it.
that was with the assumption that we would be able to fund it in a different way.
With the
That doesn't-
assumption, yeah, with that
doesn't,
assumption. Yeah.
So I'm okay with cutting the bus because I know we will fund a bus, the other bus. I'm still bothered by the disparity with the residential rate.
Mhm.
And I don't know if there's a number that we can come to that we would feel more fair about that and maybe be able to still meet the concern about industrial and commercial as well. Is there one to raise a little bit and one to decrease a little bit at this point, just working with those classes?
As I
leaving-
explained, it's, your residential is 1/3 of the
Yeah, I know
total
that.
tax pie, so changing it just a nickel has significant impacts.
That can't be made up for with.
That cannot be made up
Okay.
by adjusting the other
Okay.
classes.